So, I've been given a lot of thought to some things, and I've just wondered. I went out and tried to get some work and get a job. Things haven't been working well as far as working for myself. Things have been tough. So, yeah, I went out and found myself a job. Nothing fancy, working at a deli. But paid $8.50 an hour. Not great wage, but not minimum wage. But it's wage. Unfortunately, however, $8.50 an hour, I only can get 28 hours in a week because the company I work for will not offer insurance to its employees because if we have more than 28 hours, thank you to the Affordable Care Act, they now have to offer insurance, which the company does not want to do. So instead of giving people actually a livable work week, they cut them down to a work week that they cannot make ends meet with. Yeah, I'm going to get onto that later. Now, the part that concerns the bloody shit out of me is the fact of the matter that I did the math, and just a numbers math, and after taxes and a few other lovely things that'll come out of my paycheck before I even see it, I'm going to make about $7,000 a year. Sounds like a lot. Sounds like a lot of money all at once, but it's actually not at all. $7,000 in a year is approximately $300 every paycheck, if I'm lucky. Now, to put that into mild perspective, that would buy that. Well, the poverty line starts at $12,000 for a single adult male. Basically, I would need to find a second job to pay me exactly what I make right now with the same amount of hours in order to get to the poverty line. The line that says this is the bottom that anybody should be living at for any extended period of time. Now, the part that bothers the living shit out of me is the system involved here, and it's a very interesting system. You have problem one, and very, very big problem. Now, it seems a very easy solution would be, okay, I should go find myself a second job, correct? Something that would pay me to do it, be there, exist, something I could work around, and be able to make some money and maybe make things work. Well, the very first problem. I live 7 miles from my current job. I live in a rural community. There's not shit for distance, and the nearest town is 15 miles past the small little 7-mile dot I live near. So that means that I'd have to ride my bicycle 20 miles to go to a second job after going to my original job because the small town I live in doesn't have much employment. Okay, now the thought process, why not buy a car? Why not buy a vehicle? Well, the typical starting cost on almost any pre-owned vehicles is damn near $1,000 if you're lucky. Yeah, there are some vehicles for sale for less. However, they need repairs and many things that need to be put into them just to get going. And so you get a perspective. I repeat, my original paycheck would be about $300 every 2 weeks. So to buy a $1,000 car would be a month and a half of my paychecks piled upon one another to buy a vehicle. I'd have to literally not have a vehicle for a month and a half while working long enough to try and get a vehicle, if I'm lucky. Now, again, it's a month and a half if I'm lucky. You see, I still have rent and bills to pay. I still have to buy food for myself. I can't survive a month and a half off of nothing. And if I don't have money going into my home, I will not have a home much like that. And that's very concerning. Now, the second part and the concerning part to me, and this is, again, a very irritating part, and there's been a lot of controversy over this, about the minimum wage. Now, we look around, and if I were, let's say, to try to relocate myself somewhere closer to in town, somewhere where I might be able to whatnot, I'm going to be looking at about $500 a month for rent for a small one-bedroom little cube to live in. I make $600 in a month, and $500 of it would go straight to rent. If anybody does not see the problem with that, then you need to go back to first grade and do some math. That would leave me $100 a month to live on from end to end, meaning my electricity, my phone bill, the things I need to be able to get to and from and do things like small things, even shoelaces, the small little things that you take out there. It wouldn't work. It would be I would, again, be well below the poverty line. Yes, I'd be closer to town and maybe make it easier to find a secondary job, but at the same time, it'd be much harder for me to even survive while I am searching for the secondary job. And I understand there's a very big controversy about bringing it up to $15 an hour because that's more than soldiers make per hour. I can get into an argument statement there, but that redactive, redundant, whatever your choice of words is. Nonetheless, well, again, a concerning issue. Now, if I were to go to apply to a second job and get the second job, what is an issue is my current job would cut my hours down because my availability for that job has become smaller. Meaning I would actually have to go and I'd make less money between the two jobs. I try to make more than I make now. However, it still would not be nearly enough to actually live on. So I'd have to go out and find yet another job. And I'd have to have 3 jobs just to make ends meet. That's fucking scary. And not the fact of working being scary, it's the fact of 3 jobs. I'd have to work 60 hours a week to pay for my very cheap, minimalistic lifestyle. I don't own fancy things. I don't buy them. I don't seek to. I eat ramen 5 days a week. But I would actually have to go and work 3 jobs to continue to support my ramen eating lifestyle. If you don't see a problem with that, then you have some problems yourself. This brings me to yet another point, a very concerning aspect, and I understand the Affordable Care Act was a very good idea at the time, and it came out with some decent intentions. Create a situation where people could actually afford to go to the hospital. And here's what we've created. We've created a system in which uninsured Americans, myself included, because unfortunately our government can make a drone that can ring a doorbell with a missile, but we can't make a working web page. So time and time again, I've missed their little window because their website was going through some form of update or debug or... And I'm not one to get near a computer very often, as one might see by the distance between posts. So the next time I have an opportunity to do it, it's still freezing, it's still logged, it's still kicking me back out, and I can't ever apply for healthcare. I've tried 3 years in a row now. 3 years of still not being able to be insured. And that's the thing. Now I had to go, and unfortunately, I had a job, I had to take 2 days off because I had such a horrible infection in one of my teeth that I couldn't think. Now, to explain what pain is to the extent that you cannot think, for women you'd understand childbirth. For men, close your nuts in a revolving door, and then let 1,000 Chinese immigrants run through. That will give you about the same level of pain of just you can't think anymore. Suicide actually seems like a good idea. So I went down to the hospital. Went to the emergency room, in fact, in hopes that, because I didn't have the money to go get the tooth itself extracted, because unfortunately, no insurance, for one, and 2, dentists they charge you before they do their operations, and thus it's a flat cash, and I hadn't been paid yet. So I had to do what I could do, which was go to the emergency room and hopefully get something to help out the pain. Yeah. After 4 hours of lovely, agonizing pain, most of it waiting in a lobby. The bad and scary part, and I understand hospitals are busy and there's nurses and doctors are horribly overworked, understaffed. I spent most of my time in the lobby rubbing Orajel onto a excruciating pain so I didn't start, I could at least think enough to cry. Yeah, that was fun. Anyhow, go through and get the whole process. They give me a shot, but mind you, 4 hours to wait for a shot. 1 needle, quick, pop, done. Sit there for 15 minutes. You're free to go home. They could have done that in the lobby. They could have done that when they did the pre-screening thing an hour into my waiting in the lobby to get, the blood pressure and the heart rate and the weight and height and all that shit. There's no what the hell's going on with me. Yeah, they could have done that then, but none of them. Now, I waited and I've waited and I've waited and I've waited, and I, I got my hospital bill finally, actually. $4,500 all in all. Again, let's go back to that original number of me working my job for 28 hours a week. About 7,000. So in one day, I spent 2/3 of what I would make in a year going to the hospital. Somehow I think the Affordable Care Act failed. I'm just saying. And that brings to the point of which why I'd only be admitting 28 hours a week. It's not that I'm not a hard worker. It's not that I'm not dedicated to my job. I'm very educated and experienced in food. It's that the company doesn't want to offer insurance, so thus their employees are capped at 28 hours. It's a consistent issue. It's a consistent problem, truthfully, because this is not the first time this has happened to me in employment. And I have to ask, what good has we done now? Because now we've created a situation where you have to fight a government bureaucracy to follow the government rules. If you fail to do so, you are now horrifically liable for a I reiterate the statement of hyper-inflation of insurance. Because what people don't understand about insurance and medical industry is the insurance companies make the hospitals pay more and charge more, so there's more money flow and more back and forth and whatnot, which is okay for everybody with insurance. Until you're the one guy who didn't manage to get on the website in time. And that's just the loveliness of it. My question and what my fucking problem is overall is, at what point do we have to state that we've done more harm than good? We failed to provide affordable care. I've seen the plans. Covering myself is $100 a month. So we understand, and back to that original number, I'm only going to be making $600 a month because my company doesn't want to offer me insurance. Rent's $500 a month. To pay for the insurance that my company doesn't offer is $100 a month. So that's $600. All $600 I'd make for rent and to pay for something that I'm not actually certain I really want or need or utilize. I mean, yes, I've gone to the hospital to get my tooth, and that's part of my problem. However, that was the first hospital visit I made in 4 years. And last time I went there, it wasn't even optional. But it's concerning because why does this have to be? Why do we need these things? We failed to create an affordable care system. We created a situation where employers are not wanting to offer their employees the hours they need to make a job actually worth it. Employers are consistently creating a situation where they do not want you to work for another company because they want you to be explicitly solely their employee. And employers, again, are refusing to bring a wage that is actually livable for the hours that they're willing to pay you to work. All these things combined.
What are you watching?
And we have to question, are we trying to break our people? Are we trying to increase the poverty number in our country? Are we trying to create a situation where everybody is poor? Where there is no hope in this country? Where the land of opportunity is opportunityless? And it bothers. It really does. And it brings me to my next point, and this is education. We go back to that magic number, $7,000 a year. The average tuition cost for any college that's actually worth a damn accredited and, enough to actually make somebody look at your resume with an act of seriousness. For you DeVry students, you understand what I mean. For those who are not DeVry students, put DeVry on your resume and see how long it takes for the person conducting the interview to stop laughing. But the average cost of education in this country per year is $24,000. That is 3 times what a person working at $8.50 an hour for 28 hours a week is going to bring home a year. Now, again, this is another issue. Now, you go to school, you do your schooling, okay? You run this $100,000 at the end of the day charge of loans to go into a workforce. And the thing is, and what people are not seeing as concerning is the hourly, not say not hourly, but the yearly wage for most college graduates is about $50,000 a year across the board. Some industries are much higher, hospitals, doctors, certain engineerings, certain niche fields are much higher. But at the same time, your typical bachelor's in English is making 50 grand if he's lucky. And that brings me to the next point. We now have a point of where employment and jobs for those that are college graduates. I'm actually holding an associate's degree in mechanical engineering. It's been useless for the last 5 years. Still useless for the last 5 years, and this is why I work fast food. You gotta love that, right? Gotta love that. But here's my point. If you were to dedicate every penny you made for the first 2 years of your life, you could pay back your student loans. However, it is typically taking the average American 15 to 20 years to pay off said student loans. And that was before the sudden and drastic hike in tuition costs. And again, that's a very concerning thing because we have other nations out there universally saying education is free. All education is free. Universities are free. This is a privately owned school. You ain't paying a penny to go there because they value education. They understand the importance of an educated populace. But our country doesn't, it seems. It does not seem to understand the need for education. It does not seem to understand how important it is for a populace to actually know what is going on in the world around them. I have to ask, why? What's the point? What good is this? Now, I understand there's grants, little tricks and loops and little loopholes, but the issue with loopholes and all those little things is there's quite a few people that fall into the cracks. Slip into the little lines. I couldn't go to an actual university. I was accepted to 5 different ones. Couldn't go because I couldn't afford to. I actually couldn't get approved for student loans because my dad's lovely credit was so low. I couldn't get approved. Lovely, right? My education came directly from a lucky grant through my high school, and that's what I got from what I got. But that bothers the bloody out of me. And now, and this is, again, I question our government very greatly because we look at where is our money going, and I've been a tax-paying American for as long as I've been working. I've done everything I can. I vote in the elections I'm present for and aware of. I do everything I can for my country. I love America. It's a nice place. Lots of beautiful mountains. But I question. Okay, we have Denmark invested $20 billion into fucking education last year alone. Japan made it illegal for private corporations to own hospitals. Hospitals actually have to be owned by doctors. Yeah, their medical care is like really, really cheap. To the point insurance is half redundant. But anywho, now we look at our country. 60% of our tax dollars, that's 60 cents on every dollar, is used for defense funding. Now, that may not seem like all that much, defending the country. Defend the great country. It's a big country, needs a big army. The problem is, the money we spend is actually 3 times the combined total of the next 26 countries, 25 of which are allies of this nation. Think about that. Number 26, by the way, is North Korea. They spend literally a 30th per capita of what we spend per year to defend our country. Now, why might this be important? Why might this be vital? Simple. If the net total of tax revenue in this country is $100 trillion, and we spend 60 cents on every dollar on defense, 3 times as much as the next 26 countries. That is $60 trillion per year. $60 trillion per year. In half of a year, our own country could actually end the world poverty problem with just what they spend on the military. Put that in some lovely perspective. We're a country that can't afford, magically, we can't afford to ensure and make sure our people are healthy. We can't afford to be certain that our people are educated. We can't afford to be certain that our people can find employment that is meaningful and actually progressive. I hold an associate's in engineering, and I've worked for fast food for the last 5 fucking years. Because I can't find a job. I know people who went through the high school program and then went to college and did the 4 years. Fucking working at McDonald's as a cashier. Working at Walmart, pushing carts. Because these are the few jobs they have. These are the few jobs that are left in this country. And I don't know what as a populace could do minus horrific and utter revolt. And I'm not saying we should. But truthfully, we as a country really need to take a matter of perspective to say if we can't afford to teach our people, we can't afford to keep our people healthy, we can't afford to give our people jobs, we can't afford to correct a justice system that is horrifically corrupt. And that's another note of concern. We have more prisoners per capita than the next 3 nations combined. One of them is North Korea, one of them is Russia, one of them is China. Those 3, guess what? Have less prisoners per capita. One of them has 1 billion fucking people and less prisoners per capita than us. The land of the free. Again, we can't afford to fix these problems financially. However, we can afford to have a drone that can ring a doorbell with a missile. We can have that one. And again, I do implore the soldiers and those that fight for our nation. It's not against you. I have no issue against you. You guys found something that worked for you. You found a honorable and useful point to be in. What concerns the fucking shit out of me, and what concerns the fucking hell out of me, is our country knowingly spent $50 billion on stealth bombers to bomb a country that can't afford radar. Do you understand what that means? Is we literally pretty much just took $50 billion and threw it out of a plane. That's the equivalently of what we did. Now, I was raised not to waste money. I was raised, if you drop $1, you pick it back up. And the money we spend just fucking seems excessive. Like, ridiculously excessive, especially for what we're buying. And more importantly, for what we've lost. What we have lost. We've lost a nation of opportunity. We've lost our standing as an educated, wise, and respectable country. And it staggers me because I'm 24 years old. I've worked my ass off as far as I have. And the best fucking job I can find right now is slicing ham at the local grocery store. And that's the best I can do. That's the best I can find. And if I try to find a second job, I'm probably going to lose the one I have. Because again, a concerning issue. And I'm sorry to make this just so long. It's just a lot of shit. Now, yeah, I could probably go and find a second job if I had a car. I don't have a car. I have a bicycle. Those that don't understand, it takes me half an hour to ride 6 miles. It's a bicycle. It's an old piece of shit, but it's a bicycle. Gets me to and from. But the part that concerns me is, okay, I go and I look online and look for what a car might cost me. And I've stated this one before, my apologies, but our price of living and cost of living in this country is deplorable. Ridiculously deplorable. If you don't believe me, go into Walmart with $20 and buy dinner. Try me. Go. Buy dinner for four for under 20 bucks at Walmart. And you're going to end up with one of three options. Option one, you're not going to succeed. Option two, you're going to end up buying some pre-packaged, horrifically bad for you food in order to feed yourself. For option three, you're going to get something that is actually healthy, but not enough to actually feed everyone in your family and cover what needs to be done. And so you understand, $100, $20 a day may seem like a bunch. But that equates to about $450 a month for food expenditures to feed a family of four. And we can't. We can't do that. That's a problem. And I know it's very serious. I usually make people laugh. But it's just, at what point in our country are we going to say we've had enough? What point are we going to say this is ridiculous? This is bullshit. Because that's what it is. Social Security is drying up. We can't afford to raise the minimum wage. We can consistently afford to raise everything else. We can create a situation where people cannot find jobs, or where the jobs they can find are not enough to cover what they need to live. Meanwhile, we have a government that is currently debating whether or not Congress, all 250 fucking members of them, should receive a raise because $110,000 a year isn't enough for them to live on. $110,000 a year. Now, this is a country of for the people, by the people, of the people, correct? $7,000 a year working my ass off at a deli. $110,000 a year legislating law. And they can't afford to live on that. They can't afford to live on $110,000 of yours, mine, and everyone else's actually paid into the system's tax money. However, we can't pay our seniors who have, worked their entire lives. We can't pay disabled people who worked up until they couldn't anymore. And we can't afford to fucking get a situation where people can actually afford to live. But our government can get a better paycheck. And again, I state, it's not we don't need to rise up and create a situation where we go guns a-blazing against the government. I don't think that would end well. Just saying, especially with the stealth bombers and shit. I mean, it's not like anyone can afford radar. But they got stealth bombers and shit and drones that can ring your fucking doorbell with a missile. Gotta love that. But I do think as an American people, we do need to educate ourselves a little bit more. Arm ourselves not with weapons, but with words. And hold our government fucking accountable for the fact that they've robbed us. And that's all I have to say on the matter.